there, welcome to my shop. I'm actually carving a paddle right here, what we call a Voyageur style. This paddle's kind of just an experiment that I'm doing, but it's coming out pretty well. It's made out of ash. And I've just used a draw knife and some other simple hand tools to kind of shape the paddle, but I thought this would be a good time as any to talk about paddles. Paddles are largely a point of personal preference. They've evolved through time, but really there are some attributes to different shapes of paddles. So I'll just take this rough one that I'm working on right now. I got a collection of them. Right now I haven't been able to get a lot of paddles. I still have probably a dozen kicking around the house, but this paddle we'll just kind of give you the parts and pieces. First of all, this is called the blade, all right? And the side of the blade, of course, this is interchangeable, but the side of the blade that moves water is called your power face. The side of the blade that would be behind not moving water, or passive side, would be your off face. Then you have a shaft, and you have the throat, which is where the blade meets the shaft. And then you have a handle. In this case, I'm doing a really traditional handle, kind of in a main guide fashion, where it almost has two handles. One up here at the top, and the other is to be held down here. So that's kind of a bit of an anomaly. There are different styles of grips. A T grip, which is literally just a T, kind of a more subtle grip like this, or some more exaggerated hand grips, and I'll be able to show you them. I have a personal preference toward wooden paddles, but I do have some carbon fiber paddles, and plastic paddles are just fine, and they actually, that's what I outfit with, and what you would probably be using. So the shape of the paddle can vary. This is called an otter tail. So the otter tail kind of has a wide, its widest point is kind of in the center, and then it tapers down at the bottom. And I have kind of a few different otter tail examples. There's another one. Looks pretty beat up, and it is, but it's a Sean Tenney paddle, which is an incredibly cool company in Maine. Otter tail. And then we have your beaver tail, which is a real classic style paddle. Sorry, these are in rough shape, but actually made the one on the right ready for a restoration. And the one on the left has been on many trips, but it really just hangs in my shop for decoration. So the beaver tail is really rounded at the bottom, and the widest part of the paddle is at the bottom of the paddle where it's rounded. So you've got the beaver tail. And then you have your kind of what we call square tip. Here's a couple square tip paddles here. And those square tip paddles are really pretty modern. This one on my right is a Bending Branches, a very high quality paddle. It's actually got this resin epoxy tip. They're pretty pricey paddles, but they're real nice. So again, there's your square tip, and then you have all kinds of hybrids in between. Another paddle, homemade paddle here, that is kind of a hybrid between a beaver tail and an otter tail there. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? Well, as I said, it's really kind of personal preference, but I would say that your otter tail, let's see, we'll grab a good otter tail. Your otter tail, that long skinny blade, it is very graceful in the water, and it works very well in smooth waters, on lakes, and where the boat is moving in a straight line and not really hitting a lot of rough rapids and things like that. It's a great touring paddle. A lot of people, it is truly their preference. Whereas you have your square tip paddles. And that's really because you're hitting the bottom of a river, so you're going through a lot of shallow waters with that. The paddle blade itself is nowhere near as long, so you're not getting as much surface area when you're displacing water, but it is wider. As you can see, that it is wider here. And what that does is it gives you more of an ability to brace, which is when you actually take the paddle and you lay it horizontally on top of the water, and it kind of gives you the ability to right the boat. So that square tip is really advisable in rough water. White waters, nowhere near as graceful, but it gives you that ability to brace and do short and choppy strokes as opposed to long and smooth strokes. And the beaver tail is kind of a combo. So I guess if I put it in real simplistic terms, and this is really, again, just a matter of preference. People, mess with this all the time, but this is really for your touring, for your long distance, graceful paddling. The beaver tail handles mixed varied waters very well, good in moving waters. And then we get up to our square paddle, which is really choppy waters and white water, very good for bracing. So moving on, I just thought I'd take the moment to quickly mention a little bit about PFDs. PFDs are personal flotation devices, not life jackets, but personal flotation devices. We'll make this part easy. I don't paddle without one on. I have them on all the time. Vermont law is you have to have it on until you're 16 years old. Then it has to be in the boat. It's not cool to not wear them. The data is absolutely astounding. Drowning victims on over 90% of the time are not wearing PFDs, and drowning victims that do have a PFD on are extremely rare and have an incredible survivability rate. So again, essentially it's very foolish not to wear a PFD. Now there's quite a number of kinds. It ranges really through type 1 through type 5. Basically type 1, this is classified by the Coast Guard, and it can be seen right here in the inside of the life jacket. Well, it's in the life jacket, the PFD, or sometimes on a tag. And the Coast Guard will give that a classification. The lower the number, for the most part, the lowest number, type 1, that's for very cold water, very remote waters where the shore is far away, ocean and rough waters. And that will actually kind of create a lot of insulation and buoyance where rescue is not coming for a long time. Now, rarely do we find ourselves in that position in a wilderness canoe trip, meaning maybe we're far from rescue, but the shore is pretty close and easy to get to. So it's pretty rare to see somebody with a type 1 PFD on a trip. So most of the time, people have type 3s. This is a type 3 here, made by Stolquist. This is a type 3, old Extra Sport, all good names. Well, this one's probably from the 70s, but both type 2s. Type 4s, those are actually just like a cushion or a ring that you would throw out to a drowning victim, so you don't actually wear them. And then you have a type 5, which is a specialty PFD. This is mine, and this is a rescue PFD. So it has extra harnesses and things like that that allow for me to be able to pull a pin boat or a pin body out of the water. Now I'm only going to wear this in really crazy white water. I don't need it for the most part. I have another PFD that's not here, and it is a type 3 PFD with lots of pockets on it, and I prefer a lot of pockets. But basically another thing that the PFD does is I guess I'll use this one. If you became incapacitated or knocked out, the PFD has the ability to, for most people, flip you right side up so your head is out of the water. That's really key to the rescue. So that only works when the PFD is tight. Another advantage to the PFD is that it does add another extra layer of warmth, which in the North Country really does matter. The compressed foam that's inside the fabric does add to warmth. So here we are with this one. So the idea is you've got your shoulder straps, and then you've got your flank straps, which are on either side. And you make sure that those are tightened, even if you have to ask your partner to tighten it, so that when you pull up on your shoulder straps, it doesn't, even that feels a little loose. So I'm going to tighten my flank straps a little more. You know, pull up, it doesn't pop over the head. Because if you were, again, knocked out and the life jacket was too loose, it could actually hold your head underwater. So again, I like a lot of pockets. You know, I'm lucky I got a little diver's knife here. And a couple other little bells and whistles on this. But again, this is really just for whitewater. Synopsis, type 1 through 5, the lower the number, the more offshore you are, in rougher waters where rescue is going to take a long time. And then, you know, we get closer. Type 3 is usually what most paddlers use, where, you know, there's someone that's going to be in the vicinity to get you. So it's not, you know, it's not overkill, or you can at least see shore with your eyes. And then from there, you know, it's a matter of preference, and you know, you can easily spend $300 on a PFD, and you can also get one for, you know, $40. It's just as good. So thanks for listening.